On this week's episode, we are making something called Hamburger noodle bean casserole, which I remember eating a lot as a kid, like a couple times a month probably. It was something pretty fast and easy to make for a dinner, and that was good because both my parents worked. So you take about a pound of hamburger, 1 onion diced. The beans are a can of kidney beans. The noodles are canned spaghetti, and we found Chef Boyardee spaghetti with meatballs. And then you can do salt and pepper to taste. And the recipe says that a green pepper is optional. We decided not to use it because honestly, most of the time we didn't have the pepper in the recipe when I ate it as a kid. So that was the main dish. And then we had a side dish almost every time, which was toast, buttered, with Parmesan cheese sprinkled on it to melt into the butter. And again, we had that a lot, like probably every 2 weeks or so. And I remember loving it as a kid. So now I have some different thoughts, like, the idea of the noodles doesn't really excite me, but the rest of it starts off not too bad. We start with dicing up 1 onion. So then about a tablespoon of oil goes in the pan, and the first thing we add is our onions to brown and soften a bit. So we let those onions get translucent, and then it's time for the hamburger meat. So that goes in, and then it also takes a couple minutes to brown. When the hamburger is almost done, then we can add in our salt and pepper. Those are the only spices I remember my mom using. It's the only thing mentioned in the recipe for spices. Next in go the drained kidney beans. And I have to say, at this point, the recipe was smelling pretty good. I mean, translucent onions in oil always smell good. There's nothing wrong with browned hamburger meat, adding kidney beans, pretty inoffensive. So this is where things took a turn. So other than this recipe, we never really had canned pasta products as a kid that I recall, only in this recipe. And it's definitely something I would never buy as an adult. It just does not sound good. And opening this can, the first thing that we noticed was just the smell of the processed sauce, kind of this sickly sweet pasta sauce. That's this weird, bizarre orange color. Doesn't even look red like I would expect a marinara sauce to look. And the texture was very gelatinous in the can. Like, it was hard to even get the noodles out of the can because they just wanted to stick together in a clump. So the smell, the sight, the texture and feel, just the sound of it glooping out of the can. There was nothing appetizing about these canned spaghetti noodles, which is so crazy because I loved this recipe as a kid. I would eat it with no complaints so often. So it's just interesting how our tastes change, and something that was comfort food back in the day is just so not appetizing any longer. It was even a little bit hard to stir. Like, it was hard to get the noodles separated. They just were so gelatinous and just wanted to stick together. So really gross at this point. So while the noodles heated up through in the pan, we had made the toast in the meantime. And so you butter the toast and then just sprinkle this canned Parmesan cheese on it to melt into the melted butter. All right, and after about 20 minutes or so, it is time to dish it up. So a nice healthy serving for each of us. Randy was nice enough to bring us some beverages, which I'm not really sure officially pair with this dish, but it might help us get through it easier. Oh man, the smell, not super appetizing. All right, first taste. Moment of truth. All right, so Randy, what were your first impressions tasting and smelling this?
My first thought was these noodles are disgusting. They are mushy. They have a weird chemical processed flavor to them. It's hard to describe, but it is not pleasant at all.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I was just thinking about, how much I loved this as a kid compared to how much I don't like it now. Again, the beans, the onion, the meat is fine, but the addition of this processed spaghetti that is so mushy, and I agree, even the color is off-putting.
Yeah, it's in the salt. It was so incredibly salty with that processed spaghetti. It was the toast though, it looks strange and it's nothing I'd ever think of having, but it is looks benign, so I'm kind of curious to try it.
Yeah. Again, just Parmesan cheese on toast is maybe kind of weird, but not that bad. Yeah. I was trying to remember if I ever would put this food on the toast and eat it together. So that's another thing I tried, which actually probably helped the flavor a little bit, just to have so much bread with it.
Yeah, it's just really bland. It's not bad. It's just lacking. It's not like, what I think of when I want garlic toast or something like that. It's just, literally bread with a little bit of butter and a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Really basic, and that's pretty much what it tastes like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see why this recipe would work, for my family back in the day. It was pretty fast. It was pretty cheap. You know, it's like a quick weeknight meal when both parents are working, and cans of beans and noodles, you know, aren't gonna break the bank.
Yeah, the thing for me though is that I feel like it could be improved so much by just a couple things that really wouldn't cause you to have much more. They're probably cheaper, and they wouldn't really add much more time. Like if you just boiled noodles and added a can of like marinara sauce or a jar of marinara sauce, I think it would be vastly improved instead of the canned stuff. And so you might save a couple minutes. So you don't have to boil water, but I mean, it's probably cheaper to just buy dry spaghetti and make it yourself. You know, I think you get a lot better product.
Yeah, but then if you're adding that with ground beef, it's almost like you're just making a meaty spaghetti sauce with noodles in it. So then adding the beans is kind of the weird thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. The bean, yeah. I mean, maybe it's like for a health thing, but
yeah, I mean, you do get the fiber and the, you know, extra complex carbs, I guess, that the beans would have.
yeah, but it is still an odd choice.
Yeah. This girl gives it her seal of approval, though.
Yeah, our dog is a fan, so there's always that.
Of course, she'll eat anything, but yeah. Well, that just about does it for another episode of Nostalgic Recipes.
Yep.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks.